and small organizational. So we can have problems with the sound because we are in the city center and it's quite loud. So if we will turn off the microphone suddenly, it's not for long. We just try to wait out the noise. Okay, so and now Dasha will start the question number 1. Thank you.
Okay, the first question sounds like this. What is the role of a university in a society, as you think?
In my experience, university has, first of all, the role of educating people to give them qualifications, and we use the concept of higher education. So this is education that allows people to use knowledge and expertise to manage projects, manage groups, to take care of people who don't have this kind of knowledge and education. And another important role is to create new knowledge. So not just spread the knowledge, but create new knowledge to solve the new problems that occur. And the third role is a social role, and I call it stewardship. So because a lot of universities are like cities in the cities, their role is to lead the social change, including new ways of behaving as groups and new legislations. So new laws and new official principles of behavior for these people. So this is how I see the role of the universities.
Okay, thank you. And according to your answer, how does today's modern university match your vision you proposed in your first question? What are the problems you see in modern universities?
Okay, so from my perspective, which is maybe specific because it's quite global, I work with universities in different countries and different continents. And my perspective is also from the organization I work with. It is called Times Higher Education. And the ranking that they organize, which is it's called impact rankings. So it's about the impact of universities. And we're talking about almost 3,000 universities all over the world that are aware and document their social impact on the world. So the reference is Sustainable Developmental Goals of United Nations. And that's the reference for that impact. So we are talking about 17 different sustainability goals that the universities can work on. So my vision is quite positive, because if we have almost 3,000 universities in the world, we can talk about some kind of tipping point where, when we consider hundreds of students at each university somehow engaged in good work towards sustainability. So these universities play an important role. If we took away these 3,000 universities that do such good work, the world could be even a more dangerous place. So my perspective is quite positive. I think that it's not about the number, it's about the quality. And if these most engaged universities are good examples, then in my vision, universities are needed, and universities are playing this stewardship role. That means that they help societies both locally and globally to see the purpose. And the purpose is to keep that planet safe enough for us to live in and keep the progress that is what we know about the planet, about life, about science itself, what we should remember, what we should look forward to, or what we should avoid in the future. This role of universities is very important and quite positive. Of course, there are hundreds of thousands of universities, so the scale should be and could be bigger. But as I said, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality. So if the universities that are in a way most visible because they lead the rankings in the world and locally, if they are good examples, if societies see them as positive agents of that stewardship, I see it in a very positive way.
Thanks. It is interesting because most of the experts we've talked to answer to us that as they see university as a institution in the world globally now is going through a crisis because a lot of students are saying that because there is like a trend that university is not needed anymore to build your career in life. So the status of university is becoming lower, and a lot of our experts say that as we see, there is a crisis, and it is interesting because your opinion is opposite. And
yes, it is opposite because I place the crisis somewhere else. I don't place the crisis in the universities. I think the crisis is, let's say, in the way we treat humans and more than humans. Okay, so the crisis is a human crisis in terms of relationships, and I would call it the degree of violence that the humans agree to exist, and that's the crisis. So of course, the universities are part of the whole world and play a very important role in human relations, and they are part of that. But the crisis is broader. So they are just part of it, and some of them take more engaged part, to prevent further violence, to stop that violence, to improve the quality of relationships between the humans and the relationship between the humans and more than humans. By more than humans, I mean the world, the nature, animals, plants, climate itself. So that's why I see this as such. So of course, again, maybe it's true, but I don't have enough data to say that the majority of universities are not doing a good job. I don't have such data. My experience is that at every university, I will find some engaged humans. I will find some people who have the best intentions and have enough of awareness that universities have to play this stewardship role. So we always talk from some perspective, from some topos, from some experience. And maybe my perspective is opposite to most of people you had interviewed before, because it's a little bit more diverse and objective. So I'm not talking from the perspective of one particular university, okay, because I work with many universities at the same time. So I look at and I support projects and activities that are positive, and I have a lot of work, of positive work. That's why my perspective is such.
One more question about the crisis, about what we are talking about. From your perspective, is there a connection between the crisis we have with humanity and educational system in the world?
Yes, of course, because if we agree to certain level of violence as something that defines human relationships and human and more than human relationships, then we are contributing to the problem. And the only way to stop doing this is to learn something that is non-violent, learn the relationships not based on violence. So if we understand education as this experiential learning, so you organize a positive experience, and then you reflect on this, and then from that reflection, you go to another cycle of learning. Universities are very important, let's say, in breaking the vicious circle. So universities are responsible for giving the students a new kind of experience. And universities are responsible for education on a lower level, right? Especially by training the teachers. And kind of, re-educating the existing teachers, re-educating the parents, re-educating the leaders, and so on and so on. So of course, if you want to stop the negative relationships, we need to somehow frame it. So we need to present alternatives, kind of knowledge how to deal with each other alternatively, and then provide opportunities for reflection, for making meaning. So people really see the alternative and then are willing to change the way they behave, change the way they think, redefine their values, who they are, and so on and so on. I'm not sure who can do more, whether it can be done by universities or, for instance, by artists. I think the ideal way would be to work together. But I think at the moment, the strongest impact is from the artists and from the media, broadly understood. So it's of course audiovisual media, films, music, generally kind of art communicated through social media and so on and so on. And of course, universities train also the people who produce the media. So there is some kind of link, but maybe that link needs to be made stronger.
Actually, it's very interesting. Also, one more this question about the link between the media world, which is becoming bigger and bigger and have much more influence on young people comparing to university. And it is also an interesting question how the role of university changes or should change comparing to the media world, which is becoming maybe a new university for young people.
Yes, I think you are right that young people make a lot of choices also about their education based on their experience and the knowledge they take from the media, including social media. So, for instance, if they are on LinkedIn, they have access to a lot of interesting courses and information about different platforms that offer even university diploma courses. So they are influenced, and very often they make a decision, my local university is not as attractive as something I can get online, so I choose online. And it has very serious consequences because then, these students may be trained and they may get even better qualifications, but they miss something important that the campus, the physical campus offers to people, the sense of belonging, the experience of having student life. This is very important when I look back at how I was formed as a human being with other students, doing things in class and outside of class, was what really formed me. As an educator, as a social entrepreneur. So the media are much more attractive, and they kind of cater to the needs, but these are more kind of cognitive needs. They are not necessarily, emotional and social needs, like this sense of belonging. I think it's very, very important to all of us, and I think you can coming from where you grew up and not being forced to leave that place at some point, you understand it even better than I do, that the place is important, the community is important, the local culture is important, so the campus is important. And in a way, the campus life disappears, and it is related to the media, and it is related to, in a way, unattractiveness of campuses, you know, and the lack of motivation to be actually on campus if nothing happens on the campus. Yeah, I hope I answered the question.
Okay, so I'll ask the next one
Mhm.
to continue your thoughts. If you had an opportunity to make changes to today's university, what would they be? Maybe even continue this discussion about media world and university world. What should university change in a campus life, for example, to
Yes,
destroy
I
this risk? Mhm.
Yes, I think universities have to understand a little bit more about what future skills are about, what the next generation of leaders need for that kind of stewardship, you know, to take responsibility of both the local but also like kind of global communities, affairs, challenges, because it's about facing the world of uncertainty, facing the world of more complex challenges. So this is the need for radical innovations. So really, in a way, redesigning curricula that they really focus on these future skills. And I would define at least like two areas of these future skills. One is the communication beyond here and now and beyond the people that we know. So I would say, you know, it's the future skill number one, and I think everybody agrees, is to communicate with the other, to communicate with the humans and more than humans that we don't know, you know, that we don't have close to us, but we need to know for that stewardship. Because it's, you know, the stewardship is always intercultural and you know, both human and more than human. So that's number one. Number two is to prepare again the leaders and simply educated people for creative problem solving, and for solving problems that don't have a certain solution. So these are so-called wicked problems. Okay, problems for which solutions have to be found, and maybe they have to be found more than once. You know, these solutions may work only for a little while, and then another solution will have to be found. So that's kind of problem solving that is needed as a future skill or competence, because I would stress that it's a competence, because competence is knowledge, skill, and attitude. So we need to know, but even if we can't know, right, we have to be able to somehow solve the problem, face the problem, and kind of try different solutions. And then the attitude is that of, you know, the willingness to give up our narrow-minded interests to give up that dominance, which mostly produces this violence, okay? Because if we think that we dominate, we have power, then we use the power, and very often we abuse that power. So that's why what is in the future competence is that willingness to really work without violence, work without that dominance, but really collaborate. And in a way that collaboration is in these both future skills or competences. All right, we communicate to collaborate. We problem solve in teams, in groups, in solidarity. So this is how radically universities have to change. If they don't do it, if they don't look in the future, but they stay in the so-called silos, separation of knowledge into disciplines, into very narrow specializations where they can publish and, be famous and so on, without that communication, collaboration, and problem solving, then yes, the universities will not reach that level of stewardship that is demanded from them.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really want to underline these two competences about communication and complex thinking, because what I see in myself, it's sometimes very hard for me to be in a diversity. It's hard for me to talk to people who think differently. And I know that it is important, but I just don't have the skill, and I'm gaining it now. And this complex thinking, when I can unite different disciplines, different spheres in my head, and to create a new way of solving problems by complex thinking, it is. Yeah, I agree that the future is after these competences.
Mm-hmm. But you see,
Thank you for this.
This element of competence, attitude, is neglected at the university because we focus, as you say, on rationality, on thinking, or, on this cognitive part. And we neglect the emotional, which in fact, this is what drives us. Because, if now the world is driven by fear of violence, both from people and from the nature itself, because, your generation is already full of eco-anxieties. You're afraid what evil can be done by nature to you, to your close ones. And so if we neglect both positive and negative emotions, if we don't include them into competences, okay, then we're not able to do that stewardship. As you say, how can I talk to a person that doesn't understand my emotions? Or how can I help that person to listen if that person cannot deal with her emotions? Okay, so doesn't want to listen because, I don't know, she's afraid or she's angry, or so these are things that also need to be considered by universities. That I mean, students have to be supported in this, and then students have to have some space for success. So the empathy, the the skills like active listening, the skill of co-designing, finding a common way of doing something together, and kind of changing perspectives and so on and so on. Yeah, these are the most critical learning outcomes, I would say, that go beyond these disciplines. I mean, they're both needed by IT people, quantum physics, historians, linguists, and so on. I think the language itself is no longer just a cognitive tool. Okay, it's a fully human tool for all kinds of let's say negotiations that we need to be involved in.
Okay, so we go to another question. Or Anthony, you want to add something?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, you mentioned that the main role of university is to educate students. I have a question. What does it mean, educate? Like education? And more, educate for what? For work, like occupation, or education for what? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, again, I would refer to this concept of competences, right? So education is, for me, helping to develop competences. So knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And it has to be done again experientially, because this kind of traditional concept of universities presenting knowledge that already exists and kind of testing it, how students remember it, is no longer enough. Okay, so I add these two components that make students competent. So educating means helping people to become competent. And that's not just knowledge, but it's also ability to use that knowledge in a pragmatic way. And it can be professionally, but not only. Okay, because we have to educate humans. And again, the purpose is for the stewardship, for taking care of other humans and more than humans. So that's the purpose. And that's why, knowledge is not enough, theory is not enough. You have to develop the skills, but then also you have to help people get the right motivation, the right ethics, understanding that, if especially the community invests in them, and I don't know, education, for instance, is free or subsidized, their motivation is to take that responsibility, for the others, is to lead, is to solve problems. That's what I call stewardship. So that's how I see this role of educating, right? Shortly, giving the right competences for the future. That's why I talked so much about, what, let's say, again, the wise people decided we need for the future. And of course, we need the strongest stewardship again. And that, I repeat that it's about the communication, solving problems creatively, facing the new challenges, dealing with uncertainty, and doing it in partnerships without any assumed dominance of, I don't know, one race, one language, one class, and so on.
Thank you. We'll continue with a question. It is kind of similar to the previous one, but I think in a more broader way. If you had the opportunity to create a completely new university, what would it be? What would it look like?
Mm.
Do you have such an idea in your mind?
I once had a dream of creating university that actually functions when people travel. Because I noticed that all educated people travel, and they spend more and more time traveling. And they have a lot of layovers, between the flights, or they wait for the next part of the journey, but also very often they sit next to somebody who might be a great opportunity for developing competences. But we sit next to somebody for 2 hours, 3 hours, when it's a transatlantic flight, it could be 9 hours. And sometimes we don't even start a conversation. It's just, So I was hoping to use that time and that space for somehow organizing experiences and dialogues of people, so they educate each other in these interactions. But of course, everybody chooses some kind of program, and there is a matching system for these people. So it's like, for instance, if there are 200 people on a flight, you can actually arrange them to sit, to offer something to each other, and then you can introduce them ahead of that journey, so they get to know each other a little bit and kind of see what they offer, and so on and so on. So it would be based on kind of exchange of experiences, perspectives, and kind of really humans meeting humans. It could be done also in more natural settings. So it's like, if we can match people traveling for a similar purpose, like, to go to a nice place of nature and explore nature, that could also be done outside of aircraft or a train or a bus. So that was my crazy idea. I had it about, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I almost talked to Wizz Air, the Hungarian air carrier airline. And I almost got to the level where they became interested, but then they thought like, perhaps we don't have such a diversity of travelers. So at that time, and I checked, so statistically, yes, let's say academics did not use the budget airlines so much. So, it would have to be bigger than just one airline. But that's my crazy idea. That was my crazy idea. And I think, just to generalize, I think the future university does not need so much infrastructure, does not need to be a kind of very physical place with lots of auditoria. I mean, when you look at the use of auditoria, I guess they are empty 80% of, of the year, of the time, maybe more even. I understand specialized laboratories, but I think they also could be shared much more. And there are now ways of using them online with some technicians present. So it's possible to carry out experiments online with some technicians, being in the laboratory and kind of doing some work. And I think this is also the future. So definitely it's not about, physical campuses and incredible, impressive buildings and auditoria and the offices of rectors. And I have a friend, very close friend, who is the rector of a very big university in Finland. And he has been working already over 10 years without an office. He's a rector of a big university, but he uses any space available on the campus. He doesn't have a secretary. You can meet him anywhere on the campus because he's there where there is a little bit of quiet and all the others have to book spaces and a lot of, I mean, if somebody insists on having an office, then they have the office shared, of course. It's like co-working space. But most of people are ready to do what he does, and I think this is the future. We need to. There is a very interesting research which is also very recent. It's about vice chancellors' signatures, and it shows that if the signature is very big, then the ego of the vice chancellor is also big, and the results for the university are very negative. So, if universities are led by big egos, they are bad universities. They're badly run universities. So we don't need these let's say extensions of egos, like big offices, ground spaces that make impression, the drivers for the rectors and presidents. We absolutely don't need that. That's the past, that's the Middle Ages.
Okay, and we'll end our interview with the question, what will happen if nothing changed in today's university and today's situation in a higher education system? We discussed a lot, and we discussed a lot of factors and problems we have. So if nothing will change, what will happen?
Yeah, if nothing changes, then the universities will lose their support from the communities, from the states, from international funders, because they will not attract individuals who are ready to collaborate. And already most of research is done collaboratively. So the university that doesn't change, that doesn't build these competences that we talked about, is not able to produce new knowledge. If they are not producing new knowledge, they also have nothing to offer to the students. They can't educate the students. So the universities that will not change will simply disappear because they will not be funded and they will not be trusted by anybody. First of all, they will not be trusted and chosen by the students, and then they will not be funded by the governments. Even corrupted governments will not want to invest in universities that don't change.
And
Okay.
maybe one more level of this question I'll add. What will be with the society if universities will stay in the same in the same
They will be more
situation
global.
we have now?
They will be more globalized because the societies will have to choose, kind of hybrid forms of education, decentralized, probably fully market-based. So they will have only something on the offer that is somehow profitable, that sells well. So sooner or later, the communities will become very, very shallow, very stupid.
Thanks.
Okay, I just like to clarify because we talked about it. So from your perspective, in the core of the university should be, first of all, stewardship, and second, new knowledges. And but talking about today's university, from your perspective, what is in the core of university in general is like, it's understandable what is in a core of university now.
I think is this community of practice. It's the group of people that agree to commit to produce knowledge, to take responsibility of others. So that's the core. University is about people. The core of the university are people who agree on basic values. First of all, agree on that attitude that I talked about, okay? The willingness to produce, share knowledge, and take responsibilities of those who don't have enough knowledge to make it through the world themselves. So that's for me the core. It's the community that has this strong sense of purpose. They know why they have to work together. They understand why they have the responsibility to work together.
Okay, I don't have more questions. Anton, if you don't have also. So we thank you so much for your time and for your answers. And that's all from our side.
Okay, you're welcome.